No, but I mean, if they come back to try and rectify stuff, can they this time go through life and not kill themselves?
Oh
That's
yeah,
kind of, yeah, that's the
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely that's what you want to do. You want them to finish.
Yeah.
But we all have exit points. You know, there's at least three exit points we all get. And the soul makes it. This isn't a conscious decision. Suicide's a conscious decision, but the more I study it, the more I realize that it is also an exit point. Not all the time, but sometimes it is an exit point that is given. And the soul decides when you're going to go. I mean, it's really up to the individual soul, whether you choose to leave as a child, whether you choose to leave in the middle of your life or the end of your life, if you want to live it out. But that's a decision the soul makes. So I have a profound respect for when people die because I believe that that's when that soul has decided to make their exit, and I respect that. I don't think anybody dies too soon or too late. It was a choice that was given and made. And I respect choices. You know, we always have free will. See, that's the thing. You know, and some of that free will is on the subconscious side of our life.
There is a stage play called Greetings, which is one of the most fascinating plays I've ever seen. My brother starred in a production of it, so I saw several performances of it, and I've always wanted to, if I were to manage to break through and become, a filmmaker that I could choose my own projects, I would love to make this into a feature film because it's about a family that is very dysfunctional in a comical way. It's kind of a dark comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes place at Christmas time, and they have a mentally challenged adult son who can barely speak. He only has a few words that he's able to say, and while the other son and the other son's fiance arrive for the holidays, the mother reports that the older brother suddenly sat up and looked like he could think for a moment and said greetings, and then went back to swaying and everything. And they're like, well, maybe it was just a fluke or something. But it turns out that there is a higher being that comes in and essentially takes over the body of the older brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
a fascinating, and it's like I say, it takes into account a lot of these things. And the fiance, well, he points out that all of them have known each other for many, many lifetimes. And
Right.
he lists off all the stuff that they've done, including murderers and prostitutes and thieves and bankers and all sorts of stuff. With one of my favorite lines in theater where the fiance says, "What kind of prostitute was I?" And he just goes, "Enthusiastic." But what's really powerful about this is that the fiance, her one of her baggages is that her younger sister was killed by a car when she was very, very young, and so
Mm-hmm.
she, not a kind of accusatory, asked her, "Why? How can you explain the death of my sister?" He says, "I have an answer, but you won't like it." She says, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
try me." And she says, "It is possible that her death was so much of her choice before she was born than
Right.
you'd want to believe." And whoa, that hits some major nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like the whole Sandy Hook
Uh huh.
shooting with all those young children. Um, they came on a big mission, and they knew before they came what they were doing. And that incident sent a wave of love around this planet that could be felt physically by many sensitives worldwide. There were children that were getting hugs that hadn't been hugged in months. There were parents that were grateful with a gratitude they had never known. Um, it truly was amazing. the impact on this planet in raising the vibration that those children had. And their purpose did not go unnoticed. I mean, it truly did not. And, a lot of people have a hard time understanding it from that perspective, because it's always deemed as such a loss when a child dies. But you have to really, take comfort in knowing that soul made that decision for a reason. And even though you don't understand the reason, and it might not make sense, you really have to respect their choice to play that role, and it goes beyond the innocence of a child too, even the people we think that shouldn't even deserve to be here because they're horrible people, in an odd kind of way, I have to respect them for coming because they're bringing with them lessons. They agreed to play the bad guy in this play. We need the bad guys. We actually need them because this isn't heaven. This is a learning ground. This is where we get our lessons. We take our licks.
Okay, it's break time. We're going to go ahead and take us a break, and
Okay.
we'll be back in about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. So just, your phone will be live, so just don't say anything. And Jeff, you want to take us out?
Yep. You're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with host Henry Foister, Ceiling Cap Barbara Duncan, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, with tonight's guest, Gypsy Moon. So stay tuned for more Paranormal View after the break.
Para-X Radio, programming for the open mind.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Parax Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for listening tonight, those in the chat room and those from around the world. We appreciate each and every one. Tonight we have with us Jeffrey Gould.
Hello.
And Barbara Duncan.
Howdy, folks.
And our great guest, Gypsy Moon.
Hey, everyone.
All right. I want to talk some, and Barbara might have a ton more questions, but I'd like to talk some more about you do paranormal investigations.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of places do you usually go to do investigations? Is it somebody calling you to come in, or do you go to other places of your own choosing?
Well, actually both. I mean, I really do like going to all the different historical locations, just because I'm kind of a history buff. So I've been to a lot of the go-to places, I guess, like Waverly Hills, maybe like the lighthouse over in St. Augustine. In fact, that St. Augustine's Old Town is fabulous. We've been up to Ohio and done a lot of investigating up there. And Mansfield Prison, Prospect Place. I mean, so a lot of the ones that a lot of people watch on TV. We've actually had a lot of fun investigating those locations. But absolutely, we don't limit it to just that. We certainly would go to private homes where, especially if they're having like any kind of issues or problems, and try and help people learn how to deal with what it is that they're dealing with. And try to just bring some peace and resolution to the situations where possible. So we're kind of, all over the board, really. I mean, you can come to my house and hang out for a week, and we can have one right here. I don't have to go looking for them.
You have spirits in your house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's not an old house. Nobody died here. In fact, I'm the first owner of it, so... But, they're here, and anybody who's spent more than a few days here has had an experience here. And it's kind of fun to watch other people have experiences, because they're, you don't tell them everything. And then all of a sudden they have that experience, and it's the same experience that somebody else had or one like it, I didn't know that this is actually the most I've ever seen ghost cats. I mean, they're cats. I've got cats. I've got a little girl. You know, it's really more spirits that pass through, you know. Or if I have a reading coming up, sometimes spirits will come to me before the reading. Like, you know, the day that I woke up and was having the trouble breathing, I didn't know I was going into a reading, but that's what ultimately happened. So, or before I go to a location, I may have a spirit visit me here at home, and then, you know, in advance, a week later, I'm on an investigation somewhere, and that's where they came from. And the interesting thing about it is we have actually captured EVPs, you know, either here at my house that belong to an investigation that's upcoming in a week, and we can validate it. We did this, again, this was a Colorado one, in Cannon City. They have the Abbey of the Holy Cross, which is an old monastery, and we were there investigating, and I got the name of a woman who was coming through to me while we were staying in the sister's house there, while the nuns used to live. And turned out that the name that I got, you know, I went to Dennis, and I'm like, Dennis, I got this name. Do they have records of the nuns that used to live there? Because I was in the sister's house, and that's where she was. I'm thinking it might be a nun or something. I don't know, but she came through pretty clear with her name. So I gave him the name, and he said, okay, well, we'll look into it later. And I'm like, okay. So we went about our business and, you know, did our further investigation. Well, later that night, we went over to the prison. Turns out she was one of the prisoners at the prison. And he didn't want to tell me until we got there to see what else came, of course, you know. But what she was doing over at the monastery is beyond me, you know. She's across town over here, but she was over there. So, you know, they come through when they want to come through. They don't necessarily care where you're at or what you're doing. You know, they just kind of pop in. And really, people experience that more than they realize.
Wow. All right, Barbara.
Well, it's interesting that you would, I mean, there's some people, there in some of the thought in the paranormal world is that you don't investigate your own home. So obviously you don't go along with that belief.
No, I don't like break out the equipment or anything, you know, and it's not, you know, well, I guess I have with the EVPs. I have. It's been done. But it's just it's not commonplace because I personally don't use a lot of equipment. I mean, that goes with an investigation. But I mean, I am so not technical. I mean, everything breaks when I use it. So I mean, I just try to use me the way my mom taught me, you know. But other people have had, you know, those kinds of experiences here too. So I mean, it's just kind of fun to watch. It's usually little prankster stuff. Dennis was here not too long ago, and he was here for a month, and he got an eyeful of an awful lot of things. He was like, I questioned you, Gypsy. I really didn't know for sure if some of what you were saying was true, but holy cow, you know, I mean, he experienced footprints. He experienced the little girl standing right in front of him. And, you know, I mean, to watch an old man jump that high off the couch was pretty entertaining for me. But, you know, like I said, I mean, there's nothing harmful. There's nothing fearful or scary or evil or, you know, it's just, I mean, I'm well protected and I use a lot of protection. So I think that, you know, that helps too. But my point is that, I mean, these things happen all the time. They happen everywhere. They happen to everybody. It's just what, you know, a lot of people just don't pay attention. You blow it off. You know, oh, that was my imagination. Because that's what you're trained to do when you're young as a child. And you think you experienced something. And then the adult in the room tells you, oh, that's your imagination. You're just seeing things. That's not real. That didn't happen. My mom never said those things to me.